Cat and Moose podcast. I'm Cat.
And I'm Moose. This is a true life podcast where we explore the quirks of being human. Hey, Cat.
Hey, Moose. How are you this week?
It has been one crazy ass week. How about you?
Sames. Now, are you technically on a sabbatical right now?
I think I just started today.
Okay. I was going to say, how are you having a crazy ass week if you're on a sabbatical? And then again, like sabbaticals can be crazy ass.
Well, I didn't plan well. I thought I planned well, but the universe had other plans. I was supposed to start 18 days ago, and that didn't happen. So how did the universe let you know that you and it were not on the same timetable? Well, here's the reality. I don't know how to set boundaries, damn it. And so people were like, hey, can I schedule a Zoom call? Can I do this? And I'm like, oh, so it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And then I don't want to put any more work on the people who work with me. And I had to come to terms with that. And I just got coached by one of my fellow cohorts today. And my brain just exploded on the way up the stairs to the Cat and Moose studio.
I bet that was dirty.
It's all over the wall, and we got to clean it up.
Do you know that brain matter is actually fat?
What?
Uh-huh.
Where do you come up with these amazing tidbits?
Well, I'm learning about the body.
Okay, so wait. So not only do I have some extra weight around my belly, but that's why my head is so large?
Well, you know, this whole thing that's kind of new in like, you know, it seems like in therapy land right now where it's like your brain is actually in your gut. And I'm like, no shit. If my brain is made out of fat, it is almost all my gut.
Yeah, I love it when they're like, oh, your gut is like your other brain. And I'm like, just shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to tell me there's another organ that I have screwed up by eating too many carbs. Like, I'm doing my best here.
Right. And then it's like, please do not alter the homeostasis of the microbiome. And I'm like,
I got your microbiome.
Yeah, I got your microbiome right here.
Speaking of carbs, can I tell you a funny story that happened yesterday?
Yes, I could use a funny story today.
Okay, great. We're going to start it off good. So I had a crazy day yesterday. You and I both were sharing prior to the podcast. It's been a crazy week for both of us. And you were actually at my house, and I didn't even see you, which is crazy.
I know, which is super weird.
I know. I was on meetings in my office, and so as soon as I got done with my meetings, I had to run and pick up the dogs at doggy daycare, which is a whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm driving there, and as soon as I get in my car, I have this intense feeling come over me of pure anger.
Oh.
Do you know what was wrong with me?
Well, your liver chi was like really stirred up, it sounds like.
I was hungry.
Oh.
And the word hangry was made for me. Because I don't go from like, is that a hunger pang? By the way, pang, P-A-N-G, instead of pain. Can we talk about that?
No, because I don't know anything about it, and I've never understood why it's called that.
It's a pang.
Like a pain? A pain is a pain. It's not a pang.
It's a panga.
Isn't it a ping?
It's a pang, P-A-N-G.
Like Tang? Do you guys remember the juice Tang?
Oh, that was good.
Oh, yeah, I used to love Tang.
Oh, can we get some Tang? Does it still exist?
Yeah!
Okay, great. So I have this hunger pang that immediately turns into rage, where I'm like looking around. So I have road rage because I realize I haven't eaten all day. This is how I take care of my body. I don't eat, which, hello, that's not every day. Let me just be clear. That was one day of the year. But I realized, oh shit, I haven't eaten today. And so I'm driving, and the further I'm driving, the more I'm like, you know what? This whole healthy eating thing, I don't care right now at all. I just need to eat something or I'm going to die.
Uh-huh.
So about this time, Nashvilleianites will appreciate this. I'm on Nolensville Road at the crossroad of Harding Pike. And what do I see in front of me? You used to live over there.
I did. I used to live over there. The Hardys.
Yeah, I haven't been to a Hardee's since college. And I'm at that light, and here's my clicker. And every tick, I'm like, I'm going to murder someone. I'm going through all the compartments in my car. Like, there has to be a bar in here somewhere, you know? And so I'm looking at this Hardee's, and I'm like, I don't even know what Hardee's offers. I think it's burgers, but I don't think I can eat that. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going through my mind of like, I'm going to die if I don't eat. But for some reason, all I can see, it's sort of like when people put that fade out thing around your Zoom where you like it's faded except for your body, you know? Like all I could see, the Hardee's was in focus and everything else was faded. Amazing. And so I look over, there's no one in the drive-thru. So I pull into Hardee's because no one was there. And I look at the menu and I'm just overwhelmed at this point. My brain has completely shut down. My stomach has turned into a demon. And all I see is like 25 kinds of burgers. And like, Kat, we've talked about this. The burgers are the size of my head. They've got a chicken burger, bada bing, and the triple slammer double cheese, extra meat murder burger. And I'm literally like looking and I'm like, if I eat any of those, I'm just going to shit my pants on the way to get these dogs. And so I was like, whatever. So I get a small fry. She's like, welcome to Hardee's, how can I help you? And I was like, I'm just overwhelmed. It's just bacon and cheese melting off the menu. And I was like, can I get a small fry? And she's like, curly or regular?
Like too many choices.
I know. I was like, I didn't know Hardee's had curly fries. So I was like, curly fries. And she corrects me.
Oh, they're not curly fries, they're curly potatoes.
I nearly came through that menu, slid like Ghostbusters, went inside of the electric cable and just like ate her head off at that point. And so I was like, yep, take those. That'll be fine. And I like drive to the thing and literally I'm sitting there and she takes my money and then she closes the window. And at that point, I'm like, if you don't give me those French fries, something's going to go down here. And so it got me thinking that you really should keep snacks in your car because it's a very dangerous thing to get that hungry.
Yeah, I have snacks in my car right now, not for that reason. Those same snacks stayed in my car the whole entire time I was at this intensive therapeutic weekend last weekend. And do you know what one of the packs of snacks were that were in my car, feet away from where my bedroom window was?
You did not sneak out there and get your Cheetos?
I didn't. I didn't look at my phone and I didn't eat the Cheetos, damn it.
Okay, I cannot wait. You have intentionally told me I must wait to hear about your weekend. Can you just, is it too close to home or are you able to share anything?
There's some things that I'm going to share. Some of it is still really close to home. What I want to know though is did the curly potatoes, like, did they satiate the hanger? Like, did the hanger go away?
No, like you don't eat greasy ass fries when you're hungry. You're supposed to have like protein or something. So no, I like by the time I picked up the dogs and got home, I was already still raging. And yeah, there's no moral to the story except keep snacks in your car.
Okay. Well, people come to the Cat and Moose podcast for facts,
advice,
and wisdom and the correct pronunciation of many words. And so here we are again offering you the greatest wisdom potentially available in the universe. Yep. Keep snacks in your car.
You heard it here first. Okay, I have to share one more story before you go into the goodness.
Okay.
It totally makes me think of this story when I was working at a record label and I was interviewing this person who was potentially a new assistant for our team. And I said to her, give me an example of something in your past that you thought was going to be something, but it just went to hell in a handbasket. And how did you recover? You know, one of those questions.
Yeah.
She ended up getting the job and she's an amazing human. But she ended up telling me that somewhere between two music industry jobs, she worked for KFC Not like the restaurant, but the marketing company that worked with KFC.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, her first big job was to market this thing called the Double Down.
Oh. Okay.
And can I tell you what it is?
Oh, yeah. I need to know now.
Well, I am a journalist, and I Googled this stuff, okay? So the Double Down, according to Wikipedia, it's on Wikipedia, people, is a sandwich offered at Kentucky Fried Chicken, now called KFC, restaurants. It has 2 pieces of fried chicken fillet as opposed to bread, containing bacon, cheese, and a sauce. Let me make that clear. A sauce.
A sauce.
Yeah. Variants of this include fillets that are grilled with a spicy zinger coating.
Mm.
But as I was Googling this, I found an article in 2021 that the Double Down is actually back at KFC now. And I think this thing should be called the Double Pie Pass because look at this thing. Anyway, she told me she had to market this and she's like, talk about not being in the demo. But I mean, that looks like something from a fair. You know how at the fairs, they're literally like, how can we make this a little bit crunchier?
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's fry it.
Yeah, like fried Oreos, fried Twinkies, fried butter, fried popcorn. I mean, like they have it all at fairs. And what I'm curious about is what is the point of the Double Down at KFC? Because it looks like, or at least it was sounding to me like something that would be good for people who are trying like the keto thing, like the low carb, etc.
I think that's how they market it.
But what the picture you just showed me had like 7 coats of breading on it.
Yeah, it's maybe it's gluten-free or something. I'm not sure. But you know what shocked me about this more than anything? On the article that says, oh, don't worry, the Double Down is back. By the way, it came back on August 27th. It says the calories were like under 700. And I'm like, there's no way. This is like a 2,000 pounder.
I remember early in my life, they talked about, you know, being someone with diabetes, you should be on a 2,000 calorie diet. And I'm like, that's 2,000 calories right there.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And who knows what a sauce has calories in.
Right. Who knows what's in that's like nuclear waste. Mm-hmm. Your story reminds me of a couple of months ago. You might remember I went to the beach for like 4 days. You know, like I could take like this like mini vacation in between work events. And this experience where it was at a McDonald's. It wasn't at a Hardee's. I haven't eaten at Hardee's in about 20 years either. And so this guy in front of us was in an old like Bronco, but not like a cool Bronco. Like it's just like kind of older, like 1987 or something like that.
Like OJ's?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so this guy was in front of us and he was like, and I couldn't like understand what he was saying. He was just like yelling at the loudspeaker, and out of the loudspeaker I could hear, and I thought, man, like this guy and the person taking his order at McDonald's are really having an intense conversation. And I remember just kind of watching the whole thing go down, and finally he slapped the outside of his car door and he goes, you know what? You, and he like screamed out of the parking lot.
He was hangry too.
He was angry too. And so the funniest part was that after he screeched away the person on the other end of the loudspeaker, this is all I heard.
Hashtag hangry behavior.
Yeah, like write in, call in, text in, Instagram in, whatever it is, and tell us about your experience, either yourself or someone you know that did something really bad because you or they were angry.
She said back, F you, in her speaker voice.
The best I could understand it. It was just like, which I assume was like, you too, you know, like that's
it's like Charlie Brown's mom, just like cussing.
Yeah. And so by the time I got around to the window, I was terrified because I'm like, this woman is so pissed and it's not at me. Like it was the guy in front of me, and the look that she gave me, like I had to have my own cord cutting ceremony. Let's just say she looked at me like I was Beelzebub himself. Like, she looked at me like I was the worst human in the world. And I'm like, I'm not the one that just said the horrible thing to you over your speaker. And then I really got to thinking, like, what would make somebody that mad?
That's what I'm over here thinking is like, I mean, you haven't even gotten your food yet. Like, it's one thing if they left the pickles off, man. I get it. But, like, they haven't even, like, how can y'all be fighting about the menu? They tried to order curly fries at McDonald's, I bet. And they were like, screw you, man. That's across the street.
Right. Like the person taking the order is like super invested in their job and it like has $1 million in McDonald's stock or something and just got really offended.
Yeah. I mean, you got to respect how much they love their job, that they're going to fight for it.
Yeah.
Stop right now what you're doing. If you're driving, pull over. And we want you to pull out your phone and type in this number and send us a text. So open your messages. If you're on Android, I don't know what you do. Type in some sort of code. Who knows?
Beam me up, Scotty.
All right. So get out your phone and text 1-866-528-6665. That's 1-866-528-6665. That is our phone number. You can call us. Don't worry, we don't answer. Leave a message. Or you can text us and we'll get it immediately. But we would love for you to save that number in your phone. So when you're listening, you can just pull up Cat and Moose Hotline and send us a text.
And you can send us a text about anything. And you can text us about things you want to talk to us about. You can text us and tell us how ridiculous we are. Really anything you want to. We love hearing from you.
That's 1-866-528-THE-DEVIL-5.
That's amazing. Okay, so if you're going to call us, text us, put our contact info in your phone. Cat and Moose Podcast. The number is 1-866-528-6665.
The number is 1-866-528, the devil's favorite number, 5. Okay, back to the uneaten Cheetos. Can you please tell us about your intensive last week?
Yeah, I can tell you about it. And I was very clear with my therapist about what I could and could not say because I wanted to be, obviously like play by the rules and all that. And she was like, Kat, she's like, you can talk about your experience. You just can't talk about other people or their experiences. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I think I can handle that. And so I cleared part of this story by her and by the gentleman that I experienced it with. First of all, when I say the word intimacy, what comes to your mind?
Bow, chicka, bow. Yeah. Okay. Besides that, I think about people I'm close to who I can be myself around.
Yeah, that's a very mature way to describe that word. I also, when I hear the word intimacy, I immediately think sex. And so, so my therapist begins leading this exercise and she was like, this is an exercise where you're going to get potentially very intimate with the person sitting across from you. And I was like, this intensive is not okay. Like,
oh goodness, you felt immediately uncomfortable?
Well, I mean, this was like 2 days into it. So I was already comfortable with these people, but her just saying that we could potentially have an intimate experience. I was like, oh my gosh, like sex on the retreat, like not okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Like,
not okay. Were you guys, it is a naked retreat, right?
No. No.
Okay.
No, not
Close.
at all.
Okay.
And so, she taught us about, this breathing method called circular breathing. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard the name, but I'm not sure I'm familiar.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what circular breathing is. So basically what you do this with another person, and there's a lot of different methodologies. So, don't heckle me if I don't have it exactly as you understand it. But basically what you do is you get in rhythm with the person that you are partnering with. And you breathe in through your mouth and out through your mouth and in through your mouth and out through your mouth until you get in rhythm with one another. And so typically what you do is you breathe in and out of your mouth while looking intensely without breaking eye contact into the other person's eyes. So let's try it over Zoom. Okay.
Well, do you usually have your mouths connected?
No.
Oh. Well, goodness, it feels like we're working up to something here.
Okay, so that is the first thing that you do.
Okay.
The second thing that you do is once you've gotten in rhythm with each other's breathing, then as you exhale, I inhale. And as I exhale, you inhale. So begin breathing that way again, and I'll follow you.
Okay.
Okay, so that's circular breathing. So we
basically,
cool. Like I'm inhaling as you are exhaling, you are inhaling as I am exhaling. And supposedly, and also in my experience, this is a very intimate experience with someone, especially if you are looking into their eyes and you're not supposed to break the stare. And so I said to my therapist, before we got started, I said, "Oh, this sounds fun." I was like, "So how long are we going to do it? Like, like a minute or like 4 minutes or what?" And she was like, 4 years. And we like laughed, ha 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 ha. And she goes, "No, really?" And I said, "No, seriously. Is it going to be like 4 minutes?" And she goes, "No, Kat, it's going to be 15. And I said, "Hang on a second." I said, me and my person sitting across from me, and I can't use his real name, so I'm going to call him Kyle. Me and Kyle looked at each other like, oh shit, like we're going to do this for 15 minutes. Like I can't keep eye contact with my dog for 15 minutes, like much less like another human that's had like actual like human experiences and stuff like that. And so I said to my therapist, I said, "Well, what do we get at the end? Like, do we get a prize?" And she, like a gangster, like turned around and she goes, "Yeah, Kat, healing."
Bitch slapped you with the healing.
She bitch slapped me with healing so hard. And we all thought it was funny. So like everybody laughed.
That's so good.
Yeah. It was amazing. And so, this person that was a part of the retreat who I had never met before, and we're calling him Kyle, he and I did circular breathing together for 15 minutes. And about 8 minutes into it, I absolutely fell apart.
Really?
Yeah, I absolutely fell apart. I cried harder than I have cried in a really long time. And it led into this kind of psychodrama experience where my therapist kind of like talked me through some things. And I mean, it was really, really difficult. And at one point in the experience, I was crying so hard that I started laughing. And then I started laughing because I was crying so hard. And then I started laughing. And then I started talking to Kyle as if he was this other person in my life. And I was like yelling at him. Like I was like,
so you're role playing?
Yeah, he like was, supposed to be portraying somebody else in my life. And anyway, it was a really, really raw and also I'm going to believe healing experience, because like I already feel better about the, whatever the issue was that I brought up. And at the same time too, I was thinking this afternoon before we started recording this episode that I wanted to describe to you kind of how my body has felt since this intensive retreat. And the best description I can come up with is it is as if I have peeled off all of my skin. Yeah. And I am walking around with 3rd-degree burns all over my entire body. Like, I just feel so exposed and so vulnerable and so cracked open. And I have found it really difficult to kind of reintegrate back into my normal life. And so my recommendation to anybody who's going to do a therapeutic intensive retreat is build some time around it. And I should know this. When I go see my therapist, I try to always build at least an hour after my appointment where I don't have anything to do so that I can go have all the feels, or I can go order a double or whatever it is, you know? And I didn't think to do that after this retreat, and it's okay. Like, everything's fine. And I was telling my family today, we have kind of a group text message going on, and I told them, I said, I'm kind of dealing with the thing that Brene Brown coined, kind of that vulnerability hangover. I'm just dealing with that a little bit. And I will say, what an amazing, fantastic, beautiful experience. Like, we only were served healthy food. We weren't allowed to drink. There was obviously no like drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, like anything like that whatsoever. And it was a really, really beautiful time. We were at this house that's on a lake, and the scenery was really beautiful. And one day it was so pretty, we even got to sit outside, and then we did like this bonfire experience that was really amazing. So I would highly recommend it. And I'm still trying to find my skin.
Oh, it's so funny. I used to use the phrase walking around with no skin on when I felt that way. So I know that feeling where you just feel like you need to hunker down and just take care of yourself for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Can I ask a question about that?
Oh, yeah.
You get to choose if you'd like to answer.
I'll choose.
I'm not looking for exactly what came up for you, but can you describe what you were? Well, did they set it up where you were supposed to picture someone in your life that you were intimate with, or did that just naturally come up with you?
That just naturally came up. Yeah.
And what, like, I'm just curious, like, what feelings came up when you were doing the circular breathing with him?
The feelings that came up first were, and they were actually toward him, like they were toward him. I was having feelings of, I want to care for you. I want you to be okay. Like, I want you to get everything out of this weekend that you came here to get. Like, they were all these, like, I'm an empath and I have feelings for you, and I want you to be awesome and well and whole, and all of the things I was genuinely feeling toward him. And then it was like, it was almost like it got turned around on me. And it's like, I couldn't bear the idea of receiving, like, what if he's thinking that about me? Like, what if he's thinking like, Kat, I hope that you get everything that you came to this weekend to get. I hope that you heal. I hope that you are whole. And I just kind of couldn't handle being the recipient. And he didn't say anything. He was just sitting there breathing, you know, like, I don't know what he was thinking. And what came out of the experience afterwards was that I am worth it.
That's freaking right.
I am worth it. I am worth being healthy. I am worth being healed. I am worth being well. And it wasn't to or about anyone other than me. And like my like conversation within my own head, it's like I had to be convinced that I am worth these things. And that, you know, it's like, and again, I asked about the word intimate a little bit to be funny, but then also to go like, what is intimacy with myself like? Like, because I walk around being like, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're fat, you're dumb, nobody, you know, really cares. Like, you know, it's like all that kind of stuff. And it's like, actually, Kat, like, that may not be true. You may be worth it, and you may be really well loved, and you may be worthy of healing and all of those things. So really, it was kind of like almost like an intimate conversation with myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. I would highly recommend it. And I've really thought since then, Cat and Moose needs to go on a therapeutic intensive with my therapist. I think
I would
it would
love
be
that.
so good.
Can we do that? I would love that.
I feel sure. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like relatively sure that she would very highly consider that.
Okay, let's plan that and I need it to be during my sabbatical because I'm busy otherwise.
So in the next week.
Exactly. Okay, I'm on the same wavelength as you again, and I have, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that, because I do feel like, the one thing I took from that is you said something like, I need to receive that. And actually, I think that's the whole point, is like replacing those, limiting thoughts that we have about ourselves of I'm not enough or people don't care, and replacing them with new ideas that are true.
Yes.
And I think in order to do that, you have to sit with yourself every freaking day, even if it's for 10 minutes, and check in and go, what is it that I'm believing right now that is wrecking my soul?
That's such good wisdom, Moose.
But it's freaking true, man. Like so similar experience. I've been doing these coaching sessions with my cohorts that are in the same program I am, and as well as outside people. And I just had a session this morning with 2 different people who I adore that are in my class. And the last session I had, I was being coached, and I asked to be coached on what is it that I should be doing during my sabbatical, which really is something you should plan on before your sabbatical starts. Again, here's some great advice, guys. Plan ahead. And in my mind, I've had some ideas. I'm like, okay, I want to meditate. I want to write. I want to move and be out in nature again. And those have been the kind of the 3 tent poles that are like, okay, that's my goal. Well, I got on with this woman that I hadn't coached with yet, and she just blew my mind. We got talking about being empaths and how hard that is for me to pretty much watch the news at all anymore because my energy is just sucked out. And she asked me, part of coaching, the entire thing about coaching is bringing awareness. You aren't giving people advice. And I think that's a big misconception. And so you're just bringing awareness. You're asking questions so people can have the ahas on their own. And for me, you know how it is when you're in therapy or anything else, you kind of just start sharing.
Yeah.
And so I just started sharing about these are the 3 things I think I want to do, but, I haven't landed a schedule to make sure that I create these good habits and all this stuff. And we got talking about self-care. And after the coaching session, I always like to hear from them some feedback, and you're not allowed to give advice during the session. So I always wait till the end. And she asked me, she said, can you tell me what you do for self-care? And I just laughed out loud because I was just like, I don't think I do anything, and then I go, oh no, I do have something. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, I lay down. And she's like, okay. And I was like, yeah, like horizontal. And she was like, great. And she's like, are you napping? And I was like, no, I just lay there. And she was like, okay. And she was, and how long has that been going on? I said about a year, since 2020 ended. That's about when I've been horizontal. And she was like, great. Is there any other self-care you do? And I was like, And then she's like, Epsom salts. And I was like, oh yeah, I do bathe. I bathe. I am a bather. She's like, great. That's good. And I was like, oh, I actually get massages. And she's like, fantastic. And so I'm real proud of myself at this point. Like I do way more self-care than I thought I did. And she said, could you consider that there's 2 different types of self-care? And I was like, oh shit, I could feel the drum roll. You know what I'm saying?
Man, the word consider carries a lot of weight in this season of life, doesn't it?
Oh my God. Yes. Because basically what she should have said is, are you ready for me to about blow your mind?
Yeah.
And I would have said, sure. And she said, could you consider there's 2 types of self-care? And she said, there is the body, which you've talked about. You like to lay down. And you like to get massages, which those kind of go hand in hand. And you like to bathe. Great. You're doing that part. Great. And I was like, great. And she's like, talk to me about self-care for your soul.
Oh.
And I'm like emotional even thinking about how I felt. This was only like an hour ago. And I was like, that's all she had to say. I said that was worth the price of admission. and she just cracked up. And I said, it was just like she cracked something open inside of me. And I was like, well, I go to therapy. And she's like, great. And she's like, what I hear you saying, though, which this is the power of coaching, is people are reflecting back to you what you've already shared, right? Same thing in therapy. She said, and I hate mirroring, but she did it in a way that didn't bother me. And she said, what I hear you saying is like, you need time and space to heal. Well, by this point, I got tears running down my face, and I'm like, dear God in heaven, you are correct. And I said, yeah, that's the whole point, is I've hit a place where I need to heal. And she was like, okay. And she said, so she just took me down this path of recognizing that as much as, because I told her I want to go on hikes and I want to go for walks and be outside. And she's like, but your soul, like, when are you bringing that in? Because that seems to be what you keep saying over and over, needs healing. And it was so interesting to me because then we got talking about my new mantra, which is simply, I have everything I need right here. And I was telling her that, and I said, well, that's good for me to recognize, because even though I'm saying that and I recognize that, I have a lot of work to really, truly live that way. And she said, well, it's true. You do have everything you need, and you should not let anyone take that power from you. And I just thought there like, okay, power. Oh, I give my power away all the time. I give my power away when somebody says, can I schedule a meeting? And I know that they're a client that wants to have a meeting. So I just let them walk all over me wherever that meeting needs to go in my calendar, instead of going 2:00 on Wednesday would work great, because that gives me space to do what I need.
Right.
And it just hit me like a ton of bricks of like, oh, I'm giving my power away when I watch the news and I let it suck the soul out of me. Like, that is my power being given away. And then she said something that just really, we were on the same phrase of everything you need is inside of you. And she basically was like, you have to recognize, and this is for you too, Kat. She said, the approval needs to only come from here too. The love needs to come from here. The acceptance needs to come from here. So if you are having these limiting beliefs of, I don't belong, or I'm not loved the way so-and-so is, that comes from here first. So I can't expect any, and I know all this. Right. But it literally was like a machete taking my fingers off today. So anyway, I thought I would share that piece, because I don't, even though I know I have everything I need right here, and I believe that the divine is inside of me to do that healing that needs to happen, I walk around still waiting for everyone else to fulfill my needs.
Yeah. And that, man, was such wisdom. I love your cohort that coached you. Like, what great wisdom that she shared with you, and then you shared with me, and then we shared with our listeners. Like, that is so awesome. And I think it's so incredibly true. And it reminds me of a quote that I heard recently. It's a Steinbeck quote, and I don't know who Steinbeck is, but it's a Steinbeck quote.
He's a writer.
Okay. A sad soul can kill faster than any germ.
Oh, man. Holy Mother of Mary, John.
I mean, isn't that wild? And then I learned the last time that I was in class, which was a few weekends ago, I learned that as it pertains to traditional Chinese medicine, like ancient traditional Chinese medicine, there are 5 steps of healing, like 5 things that need to happen for healing to happen. And the very first step translates to heal the spirit.
Wow.
So no matter what's going on with your body, it's like herbs and medicines and stuff like that comes second. And then like body work comes third. And then like food that you eat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. But the very first thing says heal the spirit.
Wow. Okay.
You think if people from like 4,000 years ago knew that at some point we could get it, right?
I know, but guess what? We aren't going to beat ourselves up. We're just going to be like open hands. I want to know from our listeners, and I'm being totally serious, over the time that you have had suffering and pain and joy and all the things that come along with life, what practice for you, and I don't mean like it has to be meditation. It could be, I don't know, reading a book. I don't know. But like, I'm just curious, what has helped you heal your soul?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm excited to hear from our listeners on that. And speaking of, we have started to interview our listeners.
Yes.
And I'm so excited that coming soon on the Cat and Moose podcast, very likely before the end of 2021, we are going to start unveiling interviews with the Cat and Moose podcast listeners. And let me tell you, these have been fun. Our listeners are so awesome.
It's so fun. Thank you guys for writing in, calling in, letting us know you want to be interviewed. If you still would like to be interviewed, we are booking for 2022, and you can email us at hello@catandmoosepodcast.com. Thanks for listening, you guys.
Special thanks to our producer, Sarah Reed.
To find out more, go to catandmoosepodcast.com. Cat and Moose is a BP production.